Welcome to the Event Marketing Sevinar, a 7-minute webinar by Snowball. In this seminar series, you get the tip of the iceberg on pre-to-post event marketing practical tips, shared by event marketers for event marketers. I'm your host, Rachel Stefani. Let's break the ice. I'm here with Laura Davidson from Tag Digital. What triggered this is when I saw you posting about your latest report that you put out about the event industry digital benchmark report that you guys do every year. And you had some amazing stats, amazing information in there. And let's dive into it a little bit more to give us some ideas, tips, and advice for event marketers using PPC and digital to help drive attendance. So welcome, Laura.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me and for picking up the report as well. So much work goes into it from our team, so it's amazing that they get that recognition.
Oh, absolutely. I love the fact that you have a niche industry there that you work in specifically for events. I know that now with global events and international, like the audience expansion and visibility is international in a way. The timing of the event goes into factor because if there's multiple events in, let's say, in agriculture or chemistry happening at the same time, so you're obviously competing with other ones that are happening at the same time, even though they're not in the same country, they could be also somewhere else in the world. Does that come into effect?
If you're targeting the same region at the same time, then yes, that will come up. Also, people will do competitor targeting. So if they know that there's two events really similar, they will bid on each other's terms. And what we always say to clients in that is the only winner is Google, because all we're doing is paying Google more, driving up the price, and ultimately we're still going to keep paying. So that isn't always the most effective strategy. It's more of a vanity metric. So I want to be seen when somebody's searching for my competitor's event. But in reality, that can also confuse the user because they just click on the ad and then they're away onto the other site, but actually they were looking for the competitors.
I know you mentioned somewhere on some of your posts the timing of when you start the campaign. And I think that you had suggested to have a longer, almost like a year-round kind of campaigns going in order to feed exactly what you're just talking about here. Can you talk to a little bit more about that and what your recommendation?
I think that is the way that B2B marketers especially have to move towards is some form of always on. We all have this mental availability or attention deficit or whatever it is in terms of the amount of advertising messages that we're actually fed in a day. So your market is only in market for 5% of any given year. So you need to invest all year round. So when that person comes to think about going to an event or downloading a bit of content, you're top of mind. The other part of always on is building data. So we know cookies are eventually going away and we need to find other ways to advertise. So the way that we do that is first party data and email, and we can only get that through content, and people are only paying attention to the content when the event isn't actually on, which is why you need to invest year round. So you're not spending the same as when we're doing an attendee acquisition campaign or an exhibitor campaign, but you need to be investing in your content year round. So there's no question that they're going to the event by the time the event rolls around.
Okay. Is there any specific event size that you see that there's a sweet spot there that it gets good performance, and other ones that are maybe less than that, you say we don't expect a lot of results out of that?
Yeah, I think you would start to get quite a low CPA. Say the event's up, say it's over 1,000 people, for instance, you'll start to tip into a cheaper CPA. But we do lots of very premium conferences, say, where you might only get 400, 600 people attending. The cost per acquisition cost for those types of events will be higher, but typically they're paid tickets. So we can see the true return on investment anyway. So when they're buying a ticket, we know that they're paying $1,500, maybe up to $5,000. And we can see that return on investment. Maybe if you're talking less than 100 people, it might be very hard to find those people. Because if it's so small, maybe like the meetings industry, we wouldn't work with the meetings industry necessarily because there's just not enough volume to even find those people online at any one time. You could probably phone everybody that you want to go. The other thing to add as well is the more data we can feed into the advertising platforms and the machine learning, the smarter they get. And they can predict who's better to actually go find. So the bigger events, you're feeding it with a lot more data. So they go find somebody else like me who'd be interested. And this is where we start to get into predictive advertising because they know by our behavior, not just our search and our audience modeling, they know by how we behave that we're really likely to come to that event, and we'll start to serve more of those ads. But you need a slightly bigger budget by the time you're getting into that, which the bigger events have.
Can you share some tips with our audience to achieve best performing campaigns or types of campaigns to avoid that? Like, stay away from these, it's not going to get you what you
Yeah.
need.
I think it depends how much paid advertising you've done before. I think if you're at the start of that journey and you maybe don't have a huge budget, start with some search, some retargeting, some social advertising, maybe on Meta or LinkedIn, just to get a feel for how the whole thing works. And then make sure you've got conversion tracking set up. That's something that, maybe isn't always done at the beginning. That's going to prove whether it's working or not. And then if you've got a slightly bigger budget, you can expand into some of the stuff we're talking about. So a bit of display advertising, programmatic advertising, getting into video. And then if you've got really big budgets, you can start doing connected TV and audio ads and everything that you could possibly imagine. Don't try and do too much. Do the stuff that you think is going to work first, and then start to build in your funnel as you grow in confidence with overall paid media.
What about the content that you do in the ads specifically? Is it driven by the speakers? Is it driven by the experience, the pricing? Like, what is it in terms of content of the ads that are the most effective?
Yeah, you really need to try lots of different things. So I think sometimes in events and within B2B, we get stuck in a bit of a cycle of rinse, repeat, and it's event images and the same type of show video. And actually, what you need to do is to be able to stand out and create something memorable. So yes, do speakers, but get user-generated content around the topic that your speakers may be going to be speaking on. Test generative AI creative. So we just were fortunate to win an award last week with a program we done with Mesa Frankfurt, because we tested generative AI creative. And it's not that it was like that wildly different. It just looked really different to what they'd done before and what others in the market were doing. And people were curious and they clicked on it and they wanted to engage with it. So I think you need to test lots of different things, and don't be scared to try these new formats, because right now people are curious, and curious means they'll click, and the clicks mean that then all the machines start firing and they start pushing people to do more of the same thing because they know that content is working. But I think getting away from your traditional like show image type stuff is a good thing.
Laura, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was great fun.